street harassment. So in this video I'm going to describe the types of street harassment I get and my opinion of that, and there will be another video where I will talk about the points people make when they say that street harassment it's not, that street harassment is not as bad as other people think. So, I'm a crazy kitten, yeah. So in my life I have to deal with three types of street harassment. The first one is it's like harassment from a car. So I'm walking somewhere by the road and a car passes by or slows down or stops near me, and the person just shouts something at me or says something, or if it's just the passing by car, they go beep. The next type is it's like I'm going somewhere again, I'm walking and there is a person on foot standing somewhere or walking too, and they come to me and they say something, usually trying also to block my way somehow, because otherwise I will just go away and they won't get the chance to get their shit out. And the third type is, it usually occurs when I'm sitting somewhere and not planning to leave. So I either have to stay there or I want to stay there, and the person comes to me and sits nearby or stands nearby and try to get into my personal space, standing or sitting too close to me and asking personal questions like, what's your name, give me a phone number, we should get to know each other better, and like, why don't we want to talk with me and stuff like that. And they just don't stop, they won't leave me alone, they just stay there for decades, like for millennia, and just not leaving, and they're usually very, very drunk. So, but not always, sometimes they're just obnoxious. So I used to encounter this third type more, much more often, but 3 years ago I moved to another area, a more conservative one, and here it's not really acceptable to behave like that. I don't think that that type of a behavior could get you into trouble, most likely not, but if people see you, if people see you behaving this way towards somebody, they will disapprove, and probably vocally they will object, they will scold you or something. So people just don't do this thing that often here. In 3 years I've spent here, I had 2 incidents of this type of street harassment, and only one of those incidents was at the level of obnoxiousness as the ones I used to get before. Now, what also changed with my moving here is that the first 2 types of street harassment, they started to occur much more often, like way more often. There is a certain reason to that. It's the area where I live now. I'm an obvious ethnic minority here, and when I go out, people immediately understand that I'm of a different ethnicity. I'm not of their ethnicities, I'm a different person, and they also assume that I'm not local, and it's sad, but it's true. They have, many of local people, they have certain ideas about people who are of different ethnicities, and those are not very nice ideas. So it's kind of the same rules of politeness, they don't apply to me or to any other person who is not local, and also they have certain ideas about people of my ethnicity. So it's kind of as if by the act of going out, I'm asking for the harassment. So this is like the big point here, which I think should to tell anybody and everybody that this is a wrong thing. It's not racist because there is no difference in race, so it's, I don't know, ethnicist, but obviously it's based on stereotypes, and this harassment is caused by them, and it's not a good thing. I think most people should understand that. Now I'm going to talk about the first type, the car type. Now with that, somebody could ask like what's the big deal there? It's just a car. If it's just beeps or somebody shouted something at you, it's not a problem because they went away and you probably didn't even hear what they said, and you have completely forgotten about it in 3 seconds. And if it's a car stopping, and if it's not like a creepy following you around with a car, it's okay, they're just offering you a ride and asking for a phone number or something like that. I probably would have agreed 3 years ago, yeah, because in the place where I lived before, it happened too, not as often as here, especially not the beeping. Yeah, cars would stop near me, and like people would offer me a ride or ask where I'm going, but it was a pretty rare occasion. I guess even like the drunk obnoxious person happened more often than the car thing. But here it happens first, it just happens so many times, like I cannot even describe how many, because like, let me give you an example. Several weeks ago I had to go to a post office to collect my tea, and it's maybe a 15 minutes walk, maybe 20 tops, and I went by foot, and I was walking by the road, and I will explain it in a little bit later, in a second. But in that time, in like 20 minutes, I cannot even tell how many those stupid beeping sounds and whistles and shouting I got. It's like at least 10 in 20 minutes, and I'm sure it was more, I didn't count, but by the time I got back home from the post office, I was really pissed, because it happens almost every minute, and just the sheer amount of it, the sheer number of these incidents is really upsetting. And yeah, but my main problem is with this type, at least nowadays. Yeah, it's the volume. Partly I think it's the fault of people who are doing this, because I assume they understand that they're not the first person who was doing that. They probably even saw or heard the car that stopped near me before them. So like partly it's because they're assholes, but partly okay, maybe they don't understand that they're not the first person and not even the fucking 5th person to do this day. Anyway, my main problem is that now I live in suburbs, and to get somewhere, like to a shop or to a bus station or anywhere else, like the post office, as I said, I have to walk by the highway, and it's a pretty busy one, and there is a bonus to it. It's also like there aren't any sidewalks actually, so the highway and the place, and like I am not separated from the highway. There is nothing separating me and a car. and it's a highway, so cars, and a busy one, and cars are going really really fast, like maybe 100 kilometers per hour there. So it's just, there is a highway, and then there's the like dirt here. It's just the dirt road, and it's all very bumpy and shit, and it's maybe like 1.5 meters wide, and that's where people walk, and there is nothing between those two roads. So obviously when you're walking there, you're like extra careful, you're always alert, because there are like fast moving heavy objects 0.5 meter far from you, and when you hear a sound, you kind of expect it to be meaningful, you know, you expect it to have some value, because you're waiting for the signs that you should jump and not get very very killed. But yeah, people regularly do the beeping and the shouting and even the stopping near me on a highway with other very like speedy cars, and I think it's just well, first, that beeping thing you have in your car, it's not for your entertainment, it's for warning other drivers or pedestrians of some danger. That's the only use you're allowed. That beeping thing is just there for that reason. It's not to acknowledge that I am walking there. It's just not for that. So if you're doing this, if you see a person who's walking by the highway, and you're not an idiot, I assume that those people are not idiots, they understand that I'm trying to get somewhere and not in a dead state. I'm trying to stay alive there, and I'm being careful and watchful and mindful of the cars. So if they're beeping and shouting at me, what I think they should do, they should go to the police station and leave their driver's licenses there and stick to bicycles, because they shouldn't be driving. They obviously breaking the rules of driving. They're using the beeping shit for no good reason, and they also creating a potentially car crashing situation, especially with the stopping near me. It's just insane, and that really gets me here. Now the second type, it started to occur more often too, in the blocking my way part, again because people presume me as being not local and as like an easy target for that shit, like an appropriate target. So they would do it, and again it's the same situation. I'm walking on the same dirt road near the highway, and I'm like going back home from a shop, and I'm carrying my bags with like bread, milk, eggs, cabbage and carrots and potato and stuff like that, and like I don't look like a person who's just like asking for attention. I look like a person who's trying to get somewhere. I either carry my bags or look at the public transport, trying to figure out if it's the one I need to hop on, or I'm trying to cross the fucking highway. So I look like an obviously busy person. So those people, they don't just shout something at me usually. They really try to engage me. They like I remember even a few times they tried to like stop me physically, like catch me by my arm or something. Mostly it's just, yeah, blocking my way, like standing in front of me and yeah, puking their shit out. And I don't know, for me it seems like again a very obvious thing to very obvious bad thing, the thing you shouldn't be doing if you're not an idiot. And I assume that most people are not idiots, because it's not like a mental facility I'm living in, it's just a normal place. So most people are normal and they're not idiots, and they understand that car is moving fast and it's very deadly, and it's not polite and not, I don't know, not sane to block somebody's way, block a way of a person who's obviously trying to achieve some goal, obviously is trying to get somewhere. So these were my opinions on the types of street harassment I encounter, and in the next video I'm going to tackle the objections to being unhappy about street harassment. So see you there.